extensive knowledge of your team, who are people saying that is the potential?
You got to let people know what they're listening and watching.
We always start the show off with like just a bunch of conversation, and then at some point in time, one of us, either myself or Ace, comes in with the actual intro. Since you want to be a stickler for this, welcome to the Uptown Parlay Podcast.
See, this is what happens. This is what happens when you don't show up a lot. Like Levon doesn't show up a lot. So he doesn't know the beginning how these things begin.
Yeah.
We just jump into it.
We are back for another week and another episode. I am hosting, impromptu hosting. Once again, this is Malik, and I'm joined, of course, by Ace, Ant, and Levon. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
What's going on?
We are chilling. We are good now. But since I was rudely interrupted by Levon, who was forcing me to do the intro of the show.
Hey, yo,
I was going to ask Ant. Yeah, we already said you were here. I was going to ask Ant, what has he heard since the news just broke today that the Jets have made a decision to move on from their quarterback Aaron Rodgers? What news has been floating around? Ace, Levon, and I were talking about potential options for the Jets at quarterback, and his team was about as well as anybody. What have you been hearing about potential options there?
Well, as far as for quarterbacks, they quite just usual YouTube guys just throwing everything around, from Derek Carr to maybe even try to squeeze Sam Darnold back in here, to even trying to what's the name? They just talk about the usual quarterbacks that's out there, and they're also talking about what's that guy's name? That quarterback in the draft. Jackson Dart or something like that.
Jackson Dart. So the Jets have what pick do the Jets have in the first round of the draft?
Not for the first round, because if he drops to like the second round or jump back into the first, because the Jets right now is
back into the first. Okay, so he's not yet. I'm just saying you wouldn't take the chance to get him at 7, but you could potentially trade up and get him at the back end of the first round.
Right, like trade with the Chiefs or something like that, and just move right back in.
That's an interesting one, Vaughn. You seem to speak highly of Jackson Dart. A few weeks ago we were talking about him. What would you think about that move if they were to trade up into the first round to get him?
If the Jets,
what do you think about the Jets quarterback situation then?
If the Jets are in the trade and mood, forget trading back into the first round. You can trade up 4 spots and possibly get Sanders Award with a much better prospect. Better prospects.
No, I'm good with that.
All it'll cost you is your 7th and next year's 1.
So, that's good.
Hey, I mean, come on. With Jackson Dart, from what I hear, because I'm not in the building, I'm not a scout, you hear different things. He's athletic. He runs the ball pretty well. He's got a decent arm. But he was in Lane Kiffin's system. Lane Kiffin does a lot of short route stuff, 5-yard disc, a lot of behind the line of scrimmage.
It's not a pro system.
Huh?
That's not a pro system, though. Not a pro NFL system.
So he has to show pro day combine if he truly has the arm talent. He performed okay, and I think it was a Senior Bowl. I think he did okay in the practices. I saw some highlights and listened to a bunch of different podcasts and analysts, but no one really knows. But he's a hot commodity outside of the obvious two. A lot of people are saying if there's anybody worth trading up to get, his name is mentioned a great deal. His shortcomings are, like I said, Lane Kiffin system, not a lot of stuff downfield, and they worry about his temperament. They say that he doesn't interview well, or he doesn't do very well in post-game interviews. Like, his attitude is not unflappable, so to speak. He's very easily influenced by the ebbs and flows of how the game might go. I haven't witnessed it, but I've heard in certain games that they've played this year against certain opponents, he seemed to be greatly affected by how the game was going. Not like you want your quarterback to be, stoic and always steadfast.
So Dart is according to CBS, Dart is 4th in the quarterback rankings behind Ward, Sanders, and Milroe. He is 4th in positional rankings at the quarterback position.
I actually like Milroe better than Dart, just to let y'all know. I actually like Milroe.
Real quick on Milroe, he was really bad in the Senior Bowl, from what I was told, and everybody agreed on that. He did not attempt any downfield throws. He's supposed to have really small hands, and he's a complete project. Doesn't process defense as well. Super freak athlete, from what they say. They always say that, don't they?
No, he is. He definitely is.
Super freak athlete.
Definitely is.
He can't come in day one and start. He would need a lot of polish, a lot of practice, and a lot of coaching up. That's what
like Rick
got a lot of
James, or just super good.
He's got a lot of Anthony Richardson in him.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of real Anthony Richardson in his game.
But I would say the only difference is he's played quarterback at Alabama for 2+ seasons, so he's got a lot more games underneath his belt. Richardson played for 1 year in college, so at least he's had more practice starting.
Yeah, but he would definitely have to show, like, if he went to his pro day in the combine and he showed that he has an arm and could get the ball downfield, I mean, that might help, but they just say, he's not a refined product at the position. He needs to learn a lot more.
He got it down the field against Georgia.
Yeah, I don't need to see the pro day to know he has an arm. I've watched the man play. He has an arm. He's not an accurate thrower in any, by any stretch of the imagination. He's not good in the middle of the field.
Yeah,
he's not good throwing in the middle of the field, and he's not great throwing to the hashes. Like, he's not great throwing the football. If you're gonna play with him, if he's gonna play as a rookie in the NFL, we're talking about a lot of RPOs, a lot of short, you're going to cater an offense to his relative strengths, and you're going to do your absolute best to not have him in situations where he's got to push the ball down the field and throw into tight windows, because that's not his game, at least not at this point. But Ace, were you going to weigh in on the Jackson Dart part of the conversation?
Yeah, you said something about arm talent, and I think his arm strength is not really what's questioned. He can whip it around the field. He can get the ball down the field easy. That's not the problem. It's the processing. It's the complex defenses, because Georgia beat the brakes off of them, and they lost 3 games, and that's kind of what kept them out of the playoffs. University of Mississippi was real close to being great, but they lost their running back, who went to Ohio State and then won it all. So I don't know if that's really all on him, but Dart's a really good player, but I can't imagine he's going to fall to the Jets.
All
right.
And also, Jordan Travis is already there, so he's healthy. He could do the same thing.
Travis was pretty good at Florida State. He broke his leg, right?
Yeah,
he broke his leg.
Bad.
Yeah. Like, I think the last game of the season, or the last game of the regular season, something like that. Yeah.
He's small. Real small.
Hey, yo.
True. In other news.
No Diddy.
No. In other NFL news, before we shift to the NBA, just two quick points I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on. Travis Kelce is mulling retirement. Whether he does or he doesn't retire, I think is, there was debates all day about whether or not he should retire, and I'm not in a man's mind. I don't necessarily know about that. But assuming that he does retire, I think the main question I have is Travis Kelce the greatest tight end in the history of the NFL? I think he walks in as a Hall of Famer. I think Hall of Famer.
I think Levon and Ann know my answer to that after last week.
Oh, boy.
But, well, Ace, I'll ask you then last. Levon. Where do you think Travis Kelce ranks if he plays no more snaps, doesn't play another game in the NFL, and he walks away? Where do you think he ranks at the tight end position?
That's tough. I don't know much about the tight ends. I can't believe I forgot Tony Gonzalez last week. I was slapping myself for that one all week. But I think Kelsey's a winner, and he was on a winning team, and they won championships, and they won big games when it was time to win big games, and he made big plays in those big games, and he's got the stats to back it up. So I would say if he didn't play another game, no one should wear 87 for Kansas City ever again, and he should be. I mean, Hall of Fame is guaranteed. I guess we're talking about, does he get in first ballot? I would say yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. We know Eli didn't.
Okay. I would say definitely first ballot for him. Is he the best of all time? Give me a minute to process. Yeah. He's definitely better than Antonio Gates. Okay. So I'm going to let Ace stew on that for a second. Is he better than I think it would be between him and Gronk for the best tight ends of all time. If I'm forgetting somebody, Tony G was great, but he never won anything. About a bunch of stats in the regular season. God bless him. He played a long time and he was excellent, but he didn't win anything. He didn't make any big plays in it. Then that matters. That matters if you want to be considered of anything of all time. You got to do it in clutch. You got to do it when it counts. So I love Tony G. I love Antonio Gates, but the stat compiling with very little to show for it when it's money time just rings hollow to me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I kind of admit, this is dating myself, but when I used to say that Kevin Love was a better power forward than KG because he had that streak where he broke the double-double record or something like that. And, I had to mature out of that take and that stance and realize, as good as Kevin Love was, even on a good team, a real good team, he's only a piece type player, and there's no way in the world is he as good as Kevin Garnett. And I think, it's the same when you think about, like Gates versus Kelsey, or even a Tony G versus a Travis Kelsey, or even a Jason Witten versus a Travis Kelsey and a Rob Gronkowski. Witten, Gates, and Gonzalez are very good, but, they're stat compilers at the end of the day, which is not to belittle them, but Kelsey's better than, only question is Gronk. That's it.
So, and before you go, Travis Kelsey did just break. I just forgot. There was an interesting stat about him and Jerry Rice there. That Travis Kelsey did break Jerry Rice's record for receptions in Super Bowls. Jerry Rice was the league leader with 33. Travis Kelsey is now the leader with 35 receptions in the Super Bowl receptions, which, definitely speaks to both his longevity, the success of the team, and his impact on the most important game of, the year for your respective team. So, definitely something to be said for him there. Ant, what about you? Where do you rank Kelsey?
I'll put him up there, maybe like the top 5, top 10 or whatever like that. But I can't put him as number 1 because you got
top 10. Wait. So would you put where in the top 10 does Travis Kelsey go?
Top 5, at least top 5. I mean, to be honest, a little bit, at least top 5. Because the thing is that we just growing up, we had a lot of good tight ends. Besides Tony Gonzalez, he's actually is good no matter what Levon was saying. He's actually up there and stuff like that. You also got to put other people like Rob Gronkowski, Shannon Sharp, Antonio Gates that Ace loves, Jason Witten. You got to think about stuff like that. Greg Olsen. There was a lot of good tight ends that we was just going through it. Just for us playing in fantasy football. Jimmy Graham, Dallas Clark. There's a lot of daggone good tight ends out there.
Brenton Jones, Jay Novacek.
Yeah.
I mean, I put Greg Olsen in the same category as Travis Kelsey. What are we doing?
I think. Well, see, the fantasy football side of you, kind of
leaped out there. Yeah, but still,
it's a little misleading just because, like, you draft fantasy football based off of who's having a good year, right? But the Hall of Fame is not about who had a good season. It's about who had the great career. So,
now
you got to take the
totality
of it.
Will we consider the guys that unalive people and that unalive himself and stuff as part of those things?
I mean, it doesn't it shouldn't have any bearing on their football careers. But Aaron Hernandez, you're talking about Aaron Hernandez?
Yeah, should he be in the top 10 at least, or?
I mean, you could say his skill was definitely top 10 worthy, but he didn't have a long enough career to have any major impact on anything. He didn't even win a championship with New England, if I'm not mistaken. Did he? Did he win one with them?
They lost that Super Bowl
situation.
Oh no, you're right. They did lose.
So,
all right. So I
wouldn't.
So I'll put these guys ahead of him: Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski, Shannon Sharp, and Antonio Gates.
So you got him fifth on the list. Ace, where do you? It sounds like you're a Gates is the GOAT guy on this, or you.
I will give you my top five. I'll give you my top five right now. Number 5, I have Tony Gonzalez.
Okay.
All right. Number 4, I have Shannon Sharp. 3 rings.
Okay.
Played the fewest games. Has 800 catches. Right. Ton of touchdowns, more TDs, but he started out as a special teamer. He was 7th round draft pick, worked his way up, Hall of Famer. That ring with Baltimore is really what puts him in the top 5 for me. Number 3, Tony Gonzalez. Number 2, Travis Kelce.
You said Tony Gonzalez twice.
G was 5.
Tony Gonzalez was 5.
Was he 5?
You have his 5.
Yeah, you have him 5.
I thought I said Gronkowski.
No, you said
no. You said Gonzalez 5.
Gonzalez, and then who was 4?
Shannon.
Gonzalez, Shannon. Yeah, Tony, Gronkowski, and then Gates.
Gronkowski is 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Gates. Right now, I have Travis Kelce at number 6.
So who's 1?
Wait. Do your 5 again.
Gates.
Because you got Tony Gonzalez twice.
Yeah, man.
Tony Gonzalez, number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, we got Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
Right. Number 3
we got number 3. We have Gonzalez, Sharp.
Yes.
Number 3, we're gonna have
again.
No, number 3, we're gonna have Kellen Winslow, Senior, or original Kellen Winslow,
Senior. Okay.
Yeah, Hall of Famer.
Okay.
And number 2, I'm gonna put Brent Jones because he won 3 Super Bowls with the Niners, was a weapon. And then number 2, I'm gonna put Kelce. And then number 1,
no, you said number 2 was you just said number 2 was Brent Jones. You just said number 2 was Brent Jones.
And then number 1 is going to be Gates. Number 1 is going to be Gates, and then Kelce will be number 6.
Ace says Gates, Brent Jones.
Yeah,
Ace is drinking on the job. Ace's list is Gates, Brent Jones, Kellen Winslow Sr., Gonzalez, and I'm sorry, Sharp and Gonzalez. So Ace actually does not have Gronk in his top 5.
Does it have Gronk?
No, he didn't play.
No. He has Kelce number 6.
No Mike Ditka? No Mike Ditka?
No Mike Ditka. Mike Ditka played in the 60s. I don't count the 60s.
Holy smokes. That's wild.
I love these lists.
I don't count the 60s or my top 5?
No,
my top 5. Make your top
5 with extra people. Your top 5 with extra people, and then
I have Kelce at number 6.
Ooh. Yeah, Ace, I think you better check your phone. Your dad might be calling and talk about you don't count the 60s.
I mean, he was 10, so what does he know about the 60s? I mean, he was alive, but still. Listen, we can go into football history if you'd like, but I gave you my top 5. Okay, it's Tony G. He has an all-time catch leader. Longevity matters, and guys could just crush you back then and take you out. Shannon Sharp, limited games, but still a baller. Brent Jones. All right, then I got my man Kellen Winslow, and then I got Antonio Gates, number 1.
Crazy. Okay, it's wild.
All right.
That's
a list. That's a list.
Why anybody put Vernon Davis?
All of those players are Hall of Famers. I just named all.
Where you put Vernon Davis?
Actually, in the Hall of Fame. I'm not just a ring counter guy.
Did Vernon Davis get in? I'm trying to remember if Vernon Davis got in.
He has not gotten in yet. No, he's eligible, but he has yet to get in.
Yeah, I get him and the linebacker mixed up. The linebacker got in from San Francisco.
Thomas
Willis.
Patrick Willis. I get them mixed up all the time. Where would you put George
seriously,
Kittle?
I don't know.
Where do we put George Kittle? Because George Kittle
doesn't actually have that many catches yet. But when he finishes his career, I don't know. It's kind of
Kittle's been hurt a lot, man.
But Kelce is top 10.
Yeah,
Kelce is top 10.
He's only 31. So assuming that he's got 4 or 5 years left at relatively decent production, he's gonna finish up there with the catches and especially the yards. He's got over 7,000 receiving yards in his career.
Malik, is going to give you a list?
Yeah, I'll give my list. I think just I haven't seen Kelsey's full statistics, but just with the success that he's gotten over the course of his career, over 1,000 receptions, 12,000 receiving yards, 77 touchdowns in his career. I have to put him in the top two. I think.
Wait, I just want to ask. He has 77 total touchdowns.
77 receiving. Yes, yeah. I don't know about his rushing numbers.
That's no. I just mean total receiving.
Yes, he has.
So Antonio Gates still has 116. I just want to make that clear. Antonio Gates has 116 receiving touchdowns.
Is a stat.
That's why he's my number one.
You're interrupting Malik's.
Okay.
Undrafted, and he was an undrafted free agent.
Congratulations.
So I still go Gronk one. To me, he was the most dominant force at the tight end position for a long stretch. On a team that frankly didn't even have great receivers. Like Tom Brady never had great, with the exception of that this couple of years of Randy Moss. Like there weren't many great receivers, and Gronk was like literally the only option there. And then he made other guys like Wes Welker and Amendola and those guys pop because of what he could do across the middle of the field. So I'd say Gronk 1. I'd give Kelsey the nod at 2, Gates 3, Sharp 4, and Gonzalez 5. Would be my top 5.
And if I just want to say something really quick, because we could talk about this, and it's tight ends, and we could probably go on for hours. But when it comes to the Hall of Fame, and this is very subjective, this is my opinion, but if you have to sit and literally look up statistics, I think that says a lot. Or you should be able to say Hall of Fame and the player's name, and it should automatically come to you whether or not that person is either worthy or not. But if you have to sit there and say, let me see what he did, let me see how many touchdowns, let me see how many yards, see how many receptions. To me, I think Adam Schefter said it, and he wasn't the first person to say it, but he said it earlier in the week. I don't know when he said it. If you have to mention a player's name when you're telling the story of a league, baseball, basketball, or football, that person is a Hall of Famer, not a Hall of Stats. Stats matter, but it's called the Hall of Fame. Fame. So all of this with the stat compilers, Antonio Gates was great. God bless him. He's an athlete. I respect him. But he was in San Diego and irrelevant for his entire career when it came to the league and its impact and any meaningful game we watched or remember. So the fact that you got him 1 on your list over Gronk, who we see on commercials today because of his impact in the freaking league, is insane. It's the Hall of Fame. That is insane. And I went too long. I didn't want to go that long. I'm sorry. I'm done.
It's a good argument. Gates definitely has the numbers that pop. He has the numbers that pop. And that's why I think Hall of Fame. See, that's why I said, to me, I look at stats when you start talking about lists, when you start looking at ranking guys. But I think that all of these guys, and by the fact that all of these guys will be Hall of Famers. Sharp's already there. Gonzalez is in. Gates is in. We know Gronk is getting in once he's eligible, and Kelsey's going to go in when he's eligible. So, all right. The next thing I wanted to jump on before we shift over to the NBA, the last note that I had about the NFL that I wanted to touch on. I lost it. I had it and I lost it. See, this is what happens when you get host duties. 5 seconds into hitting the record button. I'll get it back, but no worries. Let's jump over to the NBA really quick. The NBA is shifting. Today is the last day. We're recording this on Thursday, February 13th. Today is the last day before the All-Star break, which is kicking off tomorrow on Friday with the Rookie Challenge or whatever the Rising Stars Challenge will be tomorrow, followed by All-Star Saturday, and then the All-Star Game, which is a new format this year. So let's go ahead and jump in there. If you guys aren't familiar with the new format is kind of breaking it down into like a more of a pickup style situation where there's four teams of all stars. They have been drafted. Three of those teams have been drafted by the TNT commentators: Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith. And then there's a fourth team that will be the winner of the Rising Stars Challenge from Friday night. And those teams will compete in a pickup style situation where, they play each other. And then there's two semifinal games. The winner of those games advance to the championship game, which is a little similar to pickup, but also a little similar to the way that they do the Emirates Cup, the way the NBA does the Emirates Cup now as well. And that's the new format. I'll run down the team names, but just, initial reaction to the new formatting and the first year of this situation. Obviously, this is just being done to, build up the competition level or whatever, that we haven't seen in years past. Levon, I'll start with you.
Well, I think any All-Star game, Pro Bowl, whatever have you, except for baseball. Baseball kind of got it right. You got to play hard. Fans want to see competition. They don't want to see guys walking up the court, throwing up half-court shots, everybody shooting threes. They want to see real defense and the best players trying to show off show out against the other best players. And you just don't get that anymore. And I don't know how you can get back to it. All of these players are friends with each other, and it's a big party, and it's like, it's a vacation. They're not out there trying to, one, get hurt or embarrass anybody unnecessarily or do any of that. So the game or the league is trying to put some juice into it by doing all these weird things. And I actually I don't know whose idea it was, but I actually liked the idea I think maybe 2 weeks ago, somebody said they should have the all-stars who are voted in versus the players who get snubbed. And all of the players I thought it might have been you or Ace. I'm not sure. But, you take like Trae Young, he got snubbed. He has something to say about it on X or whatever. And, you put him in there and you say, okay, you got snubbed. Now let's go see, why you should have been in the game. Why you should have been in the game over Jalen and I forget Shea. I think that might add some juice. But that's only if, the players go hard. I don't know how you can get them to do that in today's age, but format is what it is. I mean, maybe the Rising Stars could add some juice. It's the young guys. They go up against the current NBA guys, and maybe they want to show something. But to me, it's all about the intensity of the game. It won't matter what they do to it outside of that.
Yeah. No, I agree. So to run down the rosters, and Ace will come to you next. To run down the rosters, Shaq's OGs, that's the name of his teams. The OGs is LeBron James, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, James Harden, Jaylen Brown, and Kyrie Irving, who is replacing Anthony Davis because he's injured. Kenny Smith's team is the Kenny's Young Stars, is Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jalen Williams, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, and Tyler Hero. And Chuck's Global Stars is Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, even though he's injured, he won't play, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Victor Wembanyama, Pascal Siakam, Alperen Sengun, Karl Anthony Towns, Donovan Mitchell, and Trae Young is the replacement for Giannis on that team. And of course, the Rising Stars has not been determined yet because that game has to be played on Friday. So, Ace, what do you think about the new format?
I like it. I like that Trae was named as a replacement, and I think it's going to give him an opportunity to show out. And I think the foreign players have an advantage because they have all of the best centers on their team and the best big men. Even without Giannis, with him being hurt, they can actually play Wembanyama, Towns, and Jokic, SGA, and Mitchell as their starting five, which would just be bananas. And I don't see how another team is going to affect that. And I think with those five guys on the court, they have the best player in the world in Jokic, and they have this year's MVP in SGA. So they got problems. Like, whoever, I guess Shaq's old heads would have the best chance against them. And I don't know. I mean, I get it. Like, is continuity going to help you when you're trying to guard Steph, as KG said in that documentary about the Olympics this past year? But who's going to guard Jokic, and then who's going to guard Wemby, and then who's going to guard Towns when you got a center on your team? It's kind of tough.
Yeah.
But that should be the title game. As long as it's Shaq versus Chuck, that would be interesting. They're not actually the coaches. The coaches are still the NBA staff, but I'm going to enjoy that. I'm just tired of Mac McClung in the damn slam dunk contest. We need to get White Nate Robinson out of there. I'm tired of hearing from him until he gets on a real NBA team. I'm tired. No, he's got to go.
He's defending his title. I need
somebody to step up and beat this man.
Well, then somebody has to beat him. But as long as he continues to win and he continues to want to compete, let him defend his title. And do you have any? What are your thoughts on the format?
Yeah, it's okay. Seems like
does this bring you back? Does this bring you back to watching the game?
Nah, I might just peek in for a second. I noticed that the what's the name? The Rising Stars game is going to be almost the same type of thing. They got Team Chris, Team Mitch, Team Tim, and Team Jerry as well.
Oh, okay. So it's four different teams like that. So they're going to do the same style for both.
Yep.
Okay.
So I might be more interested in that game than the All-Star game because those guys, they got to get their little rest-ins and, they, for their knees and stuff like that. So I don't know. Like how Levon was saying before, it's like, if these guys are not playing, at least a little bit competitive, it's not gonna give that much interest. But I want to see that I'll be more interested if that NBA G League guy goes into the All-Star game. Shoot, if he can enter the slam dunk contest, maybe he can show those NBA players, how to actually, put some work into it. He might not be all that in talent, but at least he's putting work.
And that's the thing about it is, like, to me, the stakes, because of something that you mentioned, Levon, about just the level of competition not being there for these kids, for these guys, in terms of, wanting to just the desire just to want to be the best, and you're on the floor with the rest of the best players and you want to be the best of that group. It breeds competition, but then also just the concept of, trying to make a name for yourself on the biggest possible stage. A lot of these guys have, they've already got the name. They've already got the shoe deal. They've already got the max contract. They've already got, commercials commercials in their names, and, they're already the biggest star in their respective team or in their respective town. So, what's to drive them to actually, go out there and compete against one another when they don't dislike each other, when they don't have any kind of animosity, anything to play on for. So, I think it's cool. I think it's, nice to shake things up and give them a different format, but I'm not necessarily too high on anything, really shaking it up unless there's a villain or, somebody that, folks want to defeat or want to see beaten, and it's crazy because in years past, it was one guy, Kobe Bryant. If you played on a team or you played on or against Kobe Bryant in an All-Star game, he was going at you. So you had to play hard because
I miss those days.
You were going to get embarrassed, right? And you had the Jordan stuff and you had those guys. So, but now there's no player that has that hunger to just go destroy whoever's in front of them and force everybody else to play hard. So, especially in the All-Stars.
I don't really pay attention to the. Obviously, y'all three know, but the audience might maybe know from the how I talk about it. But I don't really pay attention to the NBA that much. But is this true that most of the players, especially the All-Stars, are really overseas players?
Most? You can see there's not most, but you can see that there's a whole team of global stars. Like I've just mentioned that Chuck's team is all global stars. I would say and maybe the top 3 to 5 players in the NBA. Of the top 5 players in the NBA today, 3 of them are probably international.
The reason why I was bringing it up because I believe that most of the players there's there now is mostly international shooting outside. They're not like the street ballers that is back in the days that was more hungry to play more than just the 3-pointer. They'll play the inside, outside, and stuff like that. Because I doubt that if you go to a regular street ball game, because I haven't been there in years, then all they're doing is just chucking it up all day or daggone day.
True.
I'm talking about real street ball in New York or stuff like that. Those inner cities. I'm not talking about some.
They're chucking it up in the street ball.
But I'm talking about they still going. They still got some of them that might be pounding in the paint and stuff like that. Still driving it into the hoop and stuff like that.
And what mixtapes was a long time ago.
Yeah, man.
Nobody's trying to play like Kyrie. Everybody want to be Steph. Everybody want to be KD.
Yeah.
Nobody's trying to be SGA yet.
I don't know if the top three.
Was that one?
I don't think you said 3 out of the top 5. I don't think.
I was actually now I'm thinking about it. I'm saying 4. Joker, Giannis, Alexander, and Luka.
Where's Shea from?
And also, if you think about it, it's just
Shay's Canadian.
If you think about it, it's mostly like the NBA is just dapped into the European leagues and just shooting like them instead of being how the NBA used to be. Every time the Olympics was going, those guys used to have to adjust to us and how we was dominating stuff. They couldn't do that. I wouldn't be surprised if he could get a player down the road, maybe 10 years from now that goes back to the old school type of ways. Because there was players back then that that didn't have a lick of talent, but they worked their behinds off, and they want to be in the league. Like what's the name of the Pistons? That Ben, I forgot that dude's name.
Wallace.
Big Ben, Ben Wallace. That dude barely had any talent, but he busts his behind to get in the NBA. He can't even exist in today's type of NBA.
He exists. There's Ben Wallace in today's NBA. Still some dudes
on the bench.
No, there's some dudes out there.
They're not Hall of Famers, but yeah.
Yeah, just rebound, can block shots, and play defense. That he's not as big as Ben Wallace. That kid from San Antonio can't really shoot, save his life. So Shan. Yeah.
But I think to Ant's point, though, Levon, if Ben Wallace was in today's NBA, they'd try to make him a shooter. I mean, they try to force him to become a space 4.
Yeah, everybody tries to shoot, but that was always the case. I mean,
I think they'd allow him to be the small ball center because he's perfect. He's 6'9", he can run the floor, and he can guard anybody.
Look at that.
I think they would at least give him a shot to floor space. Go ahead, Levon. Sorry.
I don't know that guy's game, but I think on the Pistons, Isaiah Stewart. I don't know if he can shoot because I've never watched him play like that. I don't know if he's got a shot, but if he had one, I'd be surprised. He's one of those old school types. He's just down there banging. Draymond is an old school type. His scoring is not really his forte. I'm pretty sure he can hit an open shot, but that's not his game.
Isaiah Stewart is known as beef stew, so he leads the league in menacing. Is what he leads the league. Right.
So cats who can still do the Ben Wallace thing in the league, enforcers, guys who go out there and they grind it out and they do the dirty work.
Is there any actual shooting guards back in the days like Jordan, Penny Hardaway, Clyde Drexler, one of those type of guys, Kobe? They can drive to the lane, shoot from outside, post up. Is those guys that still exist?
Plenty.
Yeah, it's called Jalen Brunson. You've been watching the Knicks. SGA goes to the hoop. Yeah, Anthony Edwards goes to the hoop.
He goes. There's plenty. Plenty do that still.
You just haven't been watching for a while. But the younger dudes are trying to go in and get dunks on people. And whenever Zion plays, that is all he is around the basket. And I like that. I'd like to see him get on the Knicks for the right price.
No.
I mean, the primary difference is the spacing in the league is the spacing in the league. There's no big bodies just camping out in the paint. There's no post up game. The post up game is almost completely non-existent. Every big man that catches the ball now is facing up and dribbling towards the basket.
Yeah.
If there is a player that's in the post, he's in the post just either for a kick out or something along those lines. Pick and roll. Every team runs a high pick and roll. Like I remember years ago, the team that ran it all the time was the Jazz, right? The Jazz were known for running the pick and roll with Stockton and Malone, and then now everybody runs the pick and roll, right? There's no team that doesn't run pick and roll with their point guards in there and their switchable bigs. So the game has changed to that degree, And I don't think it ever swings all the way back to, where it was, 30 years ago. But I think to Ace's point, again, the scoring in the league has always been the catalyst, whatever is going to promote better scoring in the league is going to be the thing that keeps everybody interested, keeps the fan, hopefully keeps the fans interested, and keep them making money. So that's what's important.
I mean, to Ant's point, he brings a great perspective because he's a fan who's not as dialed in as he used to be to the league, because the league has turned into a free-for-all. When we were growing up, the NBA was fantastic, and it was, high-flying dunks. It was guys with handle and making guys fall down and all of this kind of stuff. And now you got guys literally backing up to shoot threes. You got guys on fast breaks literally running to the corner three to shoot threes instead of trying to go to the lane and do acrobatic stuff that most people in the stands couldn't dream of doing. That is part of the reason why ratings are down and people aren't so interested in watching. Because, anybody can camp out and muscle memory up a bunch of three balls. Not everybody.
I've literally seen it.
Yeah, you can learn to do that. I think the league is suffering from that and from the lack of men just acting like men, acting like this is competition, acting like it's either me or you at the end of the day. That Kobe Jordan-esque is missing. Too many dudes are happy to lose, are satisfied with losing and not willing to say something because, they're afraid it's going to come back at them in some way. Say you don't like a team. Say you don't want to see Boston repeat. Say Tatum is soft. Say something.
Have you not been paying attention this year? Because there's been more fights this season and more texted dudes thrown out of games than any season I watched.
But that's
they get at each other. That's Houston every game.
For them on the court, I know it's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm talking about for the fans. We need to be involved in it. And that's when the interviews come or, just something. It's like fights happen. They just happen spontaneously. Like, where did this come from? Nobody knew Tyler Hero was about to get slammed. Had no idea there was any juice in that game until it happened. But we knew the Knicks hated the Bulls. You knew the Bulls hated the Pistons. When they did things like the Pistons walked off the court and didn't shake anybody's hand. Stuff like that adds juice to sports in general. And when you get to this whole we are the world and, everybody gets a trophy crap, we don't care about that.
Which one of my best friends going to be on my team this year?
Yeah, we don't want it.
Let's do some back-end trades to get my buddy on this team.
To the whole other thing.
It's a free fanny pack.
Killed competition with that madness. Killed it. The Durant to the world. Let me mute myself. Yeah, we're done.
Are you done with your tirade?
Before you go on, I just want to say I actually literally saw one highlight where they was driving to the lane. The guy had an open shot to just to dunk it or lay it up, whatever. He decided to stop and then go all the way outside just to shoot the three and still missed it. And I was like, what the? Anyway, I'm going to mute myself.
You hate to see it. I will say, everybody thinks that they're Steph and everybody's being encouraged to shoot more, but a lot more guys are trying to dunk on people because it's way more disrespectful and they know they get more highlights because they keep following Zion.
And that's the thing. You're not Steph. Steph is
everybody keeps trying to dunk on Victor Wembanyama.
Let Steph be Steph. He's Steph. That's for a reason. You're not Steph. You're a piece of crap. Quite seventh player on the bench person. You should not be just going outside trying to shoot Steph. Just make the damn layup.
Ant Edwards should not be leading the league in 3-pointers. That is
3-point attempts, you mean?
Yeah, 3-point attempts, 3-point. Did not.
He's not actually making them. He's just taking a lot.
That is what's wrong with the league right there.
Well, they have to make up for Karl Anthony Towns' offense, so they screwed up their team by trading him. But the next thing,
just like if Shaq was in this league right now, he'd be shooting threes too, like a damn idiot.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I will say the reason why the ratings are down is because there's less people who subscribe to cable television. This is the all-time low. And when the ratings were higher, there were 300,000 more people watching every single game. So statistically speaking, less people are watching more games, even though there's less people subscribed to cable. So only 68 million people subscribe to cable. I want to say in 2011 was the peak when the Heatles were going on with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, and there were 113 million people subscribed to cable. So they've lost about 45 million people just in the U.S. Globally, the numbers
Ace, it's not like they've cut cable and there's no way for them to watch the games at all. Right? Like
no, I understand, but like you have to get a cable package to watch it, or you got to get League Pass, and League Pass numbers are up, but they don't count League Pass. League Pass doesn't count towards ratings. It's a separate special
subscriptions.
Right, but they don't count. That doesn't get counted.
Well, because you're not actually tuning into the channel, you're tuning into League Pass, which runs
exactly.
The channel.
So that's kind of my argument as to why the ratings are down. It's a weird game with the numbers.
I just think ratings are down. The interest in the game, like even if you go to basketball games now, if you don't go to the Knicks games, right? You're just Knicks, Lakers, Celtics, those teams that can consistently draw sellout crowds. The vast majority of crowds, like I'm watching this Houston Golden State game right now in Houston, and they just showed a shot of this is a 6-point game. It was a 6-point game. It's now 9 points, but it was a 6-point game with like a minute and a half left. Houston's down, and you look into the crowd, and it's probably like 30% full, like 30-40% full. And this is Golden State. This is Steph Curry, a superstar in the NBA, a superstar name. Golden State against an up-and-coming young Houston Rockets team, and there's no juice for it from the crowd. Feel like I'm looking at front row seats right now in this game, or seats right behind like the scorer's table, and those are premium seats that are completely empty and have not been filled the entire game that I've been watching. The entire time I'm watching this game, but I think everything you guys have said is accurate. It's what's the symptom of the issue? It's basically that nobody's interested in these games anymore because the rivalries don't exist. The turnover with even though the NFL has a lot of turnover in its, in roster composition, roster turnover, you still know that, you're going to get Ravens Steelers. Like, that's going to be a thing next year. And whoever's a Raven, whoever's a Steeler, like to Levon's point, the Ravens hate the Steelers, the Steelers hate the Ravens. Those games are going to be on TV and people are going to be watching. Not just the people that live in Baltimore or live in, Pittsburgh, because people know that is a thing. And there's no, in the NBA, there's no Bulls Knicks anymore. There's no Knicks Pacers, These guys, these teams, these guys don't embody the teams that the teams in the cities that they play for to the point of they hate everybody else.
I would argue the Knicks and the Hawks still have a rivalry as long as Trae Young is there.
Yeah,
they keep going at each other.
Yeah, that's true. And
those games is getting
right,
and you can see it.
But see the problem with that is it's not in the playoffs. It's a regular season thing. One team is good, and one team is not very good.
It's not my fault.
In order for it to become must-see TV, those two teams have to meet in the playoffs with something on the line.
Shit, I'm going Knicks versus Indiana
in the regular season.
But Knicks versus Indiana, Reggie Miller doing his choking and shit like that.
That's going to be a thing in the playoffs again. That they will meet in the playoffs.
That started to heat up. That did heat up a little bit last year, and those games are competitive, so it might turn into.
The only problem is we've lost Philly and Boston. Yeah, basically.
The Knicks fight everybody. The Knicks basically
and the Knicks and the Heat are gonna.
But everybody.
Speaking of bad basketball, did y'all see the Heat put up 8 points in the fourth quarter against OKC?
Oh, they choked, bro.
Yeah, they lost that game.
They had a 20-point lead, and then they just and then they just gave it away.
Where, man?
Biggest flip I've seen in a long time.
Well, I don't watch this at all, but I wouldn't be surprised. I am going to watch it in March. I don't watch college basketball, but I wouldn't be surprised that March Madness is going to be way 10 times more exciting than the NBA.
I think.
Well, it always is. It's a one and done situation.
To be honest, all of the guys that are supposed to be good that are coming out, only one of them's on a team that's any good, and that's Cooper Flag. Ace Bailey and that other kid that's really highly touted, I forgot what team he's on. Rutgers is not going to make the tournament, unfortunately. And neither is the dude who went to, not Kansas, it was another Big 12 team like Oklahoma or somewhere, they are not going to be in the tournament. So it's going to be a Anthony Edwards kind of situation when he went to Georgia. He's great, but they're not going to be there. It's not going to happen for them. But unfortunately, we're going to be watching Duke maybe crush a few people. But I have some faith in, what is that college basketball team all the way out west? The St. Mary's. St. Mary's in Arizona are playing really well.
I mean, it says something when the commentators, when Shaq, Kenny, and Chuck are saying spicier stuff sitting in their comfy chairs in the studio than the players are willing to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I hate Trae Young for rolling the dice, but I mean, it got a reaction. It got a whole city ready to go down south and charge the State Farm Arena. You need that.
It should.
That's what you need in that is entertainment. You need that in sports. And football is a contact sport, so they're always going to be that part of it. You know, football is an aggressive sport. The rivalries are pretty fresh. Every division, there's rivalries up and down the different divisions, the Bears and the Packers, the Jets and the Patriots, the Bills and the Jets, and it goes on, you know?
And the Raiders versus everybody.
Yeah, and the Raiders. And some of
you don't forget about your Giants.
You just wait for certain teams to wake up. Like the Cowboys are asleep right now. The Niners had a down year, but you know when those teams are good, all the rivalries that they percolate when they're good. I mean that's football.
It's because Chicago's not very good right now, and really the biggest rivalry in the West Coast is really Memphis and Golden State. And Memphis is if Golden State can manage to get into the play-in, and they end up having to play Memphis, it's going to be real ugly when they play each other.
Can they get rid of that stupid ass play-in? Can they get rid?
No,
can they get rid of that?
It's still there.
Playing is healthy.
No, it's not.
It is. If you can't
make the top 8, then you shouldn't even try.
The player that's healthy and embrace change. It's good. It's healthy.
You know, it's healthy if you actually work your behind off and actually get into the top 8. They make it.
It's kind of like the 7th seed in football. You know, it's like the 7th seed playoff spot. Denver wouldn't have been in. And we saw they probably shouldn't have because they got crushed.
They shouldn't have gotten in. They got destroyed.
As soon as they touched that field.
They got destroyed. Josh Allen should have got a body just like Patrick Mahomes did. Maybe would have had maybe things would have gotten better for him. But
the same thing with the
remember who made it for the East. I don't even remember who made it for the NFC. I got to be honest. I don't even know who the 7th seed was.
Do we care? No.
And they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, which I wanted to get to because I buried the lead, and I buried the lead on purpose because the Super Bowl happened last week. You guys made your picks. I wasn't on that show, but did you all pick Philly? Well, did anybody pick Philly in a blowout? I think that's probably my first question for everybody. Did anybody pick Philly in a blowout?
I did.
Yeah,
Levon could happen, but he wasn't sure.
I said
Philly by 2 touchdowns. So I don't know if 2 touchdowns counts as a blowout, but yeah,
it doesn't. But okay. We can listen back. But it does. I mean, you picked the Philly victory, so that makes sense. Levon, you picked Philly to win too.
Yeah, let's not rehash it. It's dead.
Those damn refs didn't get paid off. That's the reason why I picked. That's the only reson why I picked KC. Not that the refs will get paid off again.
The game happened. We got to talk about it. So, Ant, you picked KC.
Yeah, because I thought the checks was going to clear, but it looked like the checks didn't clear this time. You saw how Patrick Mahomes got his behind smacked. He got his behind smacked. The refs didn't call it.
It's called defense. It's called the defense played. The offense didn't, and the refs didn't throw the refs can't do anything about the fact that the refs couldn't do a damn thing about the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs couldn't block. Okay, that's it. They just couldn't block. The refs can't do anything about that.
Usually when you breathe on Mahomes, and that's what happens here, they want to call a foul. But jokes aside, basically, Mahomes basically had the same feeling he had when he went against Brady, and his offensive line was crap. It was the same exact situation. If you go back and look at that Tampa game in the Super Bowl and how they won, it was basically the same thing. The offensive line collapsed.
Receivers were worse this time. Travis Kelce, the reason why Kelce's thinking about retirement is because of how bad he played in the Super Bowl. Like, there was a play where Mahomes was scrambling, and he's just standing still at the 48, and I was like, I didn't even notice that during the game. But you didn't move. That's crazy.
I think Kelce wanted to go out, win the Super Bowl, and marry Corey Taylor Swift on that same day. But that didn't happen.
He still can, but He did not play well in that game, and that's why he said, I was reaching back for stuff that I thought I could do, and I could not play the way I wanted to. And I was surprised that he's like telling us this publicly, but doing it on his own podcast is genius because it's only going to get him more views. And I think they did sign a $100 million contract, so he got money coming either way, whether it's by talking about football or playing football. So it'll be fine, but
give him a couple of weeks.
He's going to wait till July to make it.
That's what I was going to say. Give him a couple of weeks because this is how players usually think about that at the end of the season. There's nothing to grind for. There's nothing to work out for. There's nothing to get ready for. So of course they're going to be thinking about retirement. Give them a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever. They got that hunger back into them. They might go ready to go for another season again.
But I picked Philadelphia based off of the obvious reason of defensive line, offensive line. They should win. The only thing I was wrong about was Saquon scoring a touchdown.
Are you recapping the Super Bowl or?
Yeah. That's what I said. Let's go ahead and recap. Let's go ahead and we can do a quick recap. But I mean, Levon and Ant and Ace have already kind of laid out their thoughts about the game. Levon, what were your thoughts on the game?
I mean, I talked to somebody about the game, and I told them, just like I said on the pod to and Ace, Philly's top to bottom was just better. And it was obvious. I mean, you could look on paper and see top to bottom, they were better. Go back 2 weeks, and we argued about this, and I said the Chiefs are not good. They've been getting by all year with by the skin of
refs.
And, I mean, we can't quantify the refs, but that's a real thing. Ant makes it funny. But it's a real thing. They were rescued all year by the flag. And they finally were not in this game. And they had to play from behind. And they couldn't do it. And they probably couldn't do it all year, but they didn't have to because they were rescued a ton. But Philly, that they were far and ahead. Fuck the Chiefs, excuse me. The Chiefs, by halftime, hadn't crossed center field. They had 14 yards of offense. And I mean, I think we went back and forth with our fingers about this, but Malik said something outrageous. He said something about, somebody played a great game. And I'm like, the Chiefs didn't belong on that field, and it was obvious.
Yeah, it should have been the Bills.
The way they were able to beat the Bills, let me know. I thought they were going to hold up, but
you don't pass
they slowed down the Bills' running game.
Third quarter? And you have 14 yards of offense?
Both the Bills and the Ravens would have definitely did better in that.
You said, I don't know, we were talking off pod and we were talking back and forth, which I hate to do because I can never get my thoughts out in these text messages. You said the Chiefs lost and it took the two great games to beat them. And you were talking about Buffalo and Philly. And the one game they threw on purpose at the end of the year, we weren't counting that.
It did.
And I'm like,
did Philly wait.
No. Let me go.
Hold on. Levon, I'm asking a question.
Go ahead.
Did Philly play a great game?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Answer the question. Yes or no? Did they play a great game?
I'm going to answer it right now. Philly played their game, which was a great game, but that doesn't mean KC should even been on that stage. They showed that they shouldn't even have been on that stage getting beat like that. Just like we showed we shouldn't have been on the stage with the Ravens getting beat like that. Just like Buffalo showed they shouldn't have been on the stage with the Cowboys when they got waxed.
But you won the game to get there, so you can't really.
This is why I laugh. This is why I laugh. Thank you, Ace. This is why I laugh. Okay. The NFL season is not based on one or two games. It's a 17-game season with with at least three playoff or at least two playoff games and the Super Bowl. So over the course of a 17-game, 18-week season and two playoff games, the Kansas City Chiefs lost twice, two times. They were only able to be defeated where they scored less points than the other team in two separate occasions. And in the first occasion of that, Josh Allen played lights out. He played like Superman. He played his complete ass off, and he destroyed the Kansas City defense, and he beat them. And then in the second game, the Philadelphia Eagles put a damn whooping on them. They played like the best team in the world, and they beat the brakes off them. I don't understand how you can look at a season and watch a team go, I'm not even going to count that Denver game. How you can look at the entirety of a season, watch a team go 15-2.
Can I explain?
Or 15-1 over the course of a season, win two playoff games, get to the Super Bowl, and then say they're not good. I don't understand that. I don't understand that.
I know you said it 3 times. You don't understand that. I'm explaining so you can understand it. They were never 15-2 good. and myself.
They were 15-2.
Can I explain?
They were 15-2.
There's literally almost as good as the Jets.
Can I explain?
Really.
They were never 15-2 good. That is my point. That was my point all year. They were never 15-2 good. They had been winning games by the skin of their teeth, and they had been saved by the flag all season. And it showed. They could have lost to the Texans in that first game. You know this. Everybody was talking about how could the Texans outgain this team and have fewer penalties and still lose. They should have lost to the Texans. This was the most hollow 15-2 three-peatingest possible team there has ever been. And they got washed. They got washed because no flags came to save them, and they finally played a team that, a lot of teams, Buffalo should have beat them. Buffalo beat themselves in that game. They had their record. It is what it is, but I will go and die on this island. They were never as good as everybody made them out to be. They weren't. And that Super Bowl wasn't even close. And you even said it yourself, the Rams played Philadelphia better than that in Philly.
They did.
All I know is that
I supposed to be 15-2 Philadelphia than they did.
Yes, and they supposed to be 15-2, and they got washed in a game they had 2 weeks to prepare for, right? 2 weeks to prepare for. Same team that they used to get all the way to, and they couldn't pass the 50 until the third quarter. 14 total yards of offense. Washed.
All I know is that I should have looked at the rest to see who was actually playing. As soon as I saw Ronald Turbin, I knew that it was
performance. Like somebody played out of their mind and went above and beyond. Philadelphia played their game they've been playing all season.
That's true.
Their game
had a worse game than he did the first time he played. Not worse, that's a terrible word. But he didn't put on the same type of performance in the first game where he was better in the first Super Bowl. They lost. Saquon didn't even have 70 rushing yards, didn't score a touchdown.
Do you want to say worser? Is that the word you were looking for?
Yeah, but I just didn't want to say that because Jalen played his tail off and he was excellent. So I didn't want to even put worse.
He was a Super Bowl MVP, but I think the fact that if you can rush 4 and they were built to do that, they could rotate guys out of the defensive line.
And let's keep it a beat.
Jalen Carter just plays violently.
Yeah, Jalen.
Most guys don't play like that anymore.
Jalen was a beast, but you hardly heard his name called. You heard a bunch of dudes' names called who most people will be like, who's Josh Sweat? Who's Milton Williams?
Josh Sweat is the reason why they let go of Hassan Reddick.
Josh Sweat outplayed the former Jet. He's lost on the bench after they paid him all that money. And yes, that's why they let go of Hassan Reddick. But who knows who that is? That's my point. No,
maybe us four here. But
we know football. But my point is Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, these guys. Brandon Graham on his last leg. They rushed 4, did not blitz once, and tore that line apart. And Patrick Mahomes was buried by rushing. That is never has ever been done.
But also, this is the worst receiving core he's had.
Here we go.
Excuses. Like Juju Smith-Schuster. No, it's not excuses. It's a reason.
Here we go.
They weren't getting open, so he had nowhere to go. So he had nowhere to throw the ball. So they had more time to get to him.
To answer Levon's question, that actually happened before to him, like I was saying earlier, with the Bucs. The Bucs rushed him the same way when his offensive line got destroyed.
But that was a way more competitive game. That wasn't a washing. It was not a
washing. It was 31-9. No, that was a washing.
That was even worse because they didn't even score yet. They didn't even score 12.
Okay.
They got a touchdown. This was actually close at the end.
I thought that game was closer than that.
No,
that was the
garbage time touchdown.
That was the mercenary team.
It was a smoking. The main thing about that people still don't talk about is that Patrick Mahomes did go into that game injured. He had injured himself in the AFC Championship game. He had a twisted knee, and he was barely walking, couldn't run around, couldn't move. And then he went and played in the Super Bowl against that Tampa front, and basically was a sitting duck. He couldn't move, even the way he moves now. He couldn't move that way. He was 3 years younger than when that happened.
Yeah,
look, my whole point, going into this is either 15-2 means something or it doesn't. And if you want to say that 15-2, if you want to say that half of their victories came because they got great calls, they got referee calls.
That's a ridiculous thing to say. I'm sorry.
You should look it up.
If that's what you want to say, then I'm perfectly. But like I said, you're Bill Parcells said, "You are what your record says you are. You are what your record is," and I've always aligned with that with that thinking from that perspective. If you're 15-2, 15-2 says that you're one of the best teams in the NFL. Just like, 7-10 says that you're mediocre, and 3-14 says that you're trash. And if you're a 3-14 team that whose 11 losses are by 3 points or less, that doesn't mean you're a good 3-14 team. It means you're a shit team that can't win games at the end of the game, right? That's what it means. So to me, it doesn't matter whether your record tells you and the rest of the world who you are, what you're all about. And so they walked into that Super Bowl as a 15-2 team, number one seed in the AFC, having beaten pretty much everybody that had come up against them. And were they the perfect team? Absolutely not. Were they a flawed team? Absolutely. And Philadelphia had exactly what they needed to have to exploit every single one of their flaws. And Philadelphia had an answer for the one thing that KC could do, which was slow down Saquon Barkley, because the belief was, if we slow down Saquon Barkley, we have a chance. We have a chance because we can beat them from any other level, because Jalen Hurts can't throw. And there was all these conversations about whether or not Jalen Hurts could defeat them by throwing the football, so on and so forth. They did that. They slowed down Saquon Barkley. He only had, I think, 57 yards rushing in the game. Yeah. But Jalen Hurts did what he needed to do. He picked them apart with passing the football. And on the other side, the Philadelphia Eagles were able to take advantage of the biggest weakness in the Kansas City Chiefs offense, which was their offensive line, and the fact that their running backs leave a lot to be desired in terms of talent. They don't have a great talented running back situation like the Philadelphia Eagles did. They took advantage of it, and this is what you got. You got 40 or 60 minutes of a complete beatdown from a team that was better than them. But that doesn't negate the fact that they went 15-2 in the season, unless you're just going to say they were 15-2, but they were frauds at 15-2. I don't believe that there's a 15-2 team that's a fraud, just like I don't believe that there's a 3-14 team that's good.
Malik, that's crazy. Your Detroit Lions got washed at home by a rookie.
And I don't think that means we're frauds. I don't think the fact that we beat Minnesota the week before means that we're frauds at 15-2. I don't think that means that.
What do you call it?
I can answer that question. It's an accumulation of injuries. When you have 18 people on the injured reserve on your team and you have a 52-man roster, that means there are people who were playing that were like on the practice squad, deep on the practice squad, that you were like, maybe we'll need them for special teams at worst. They were starting in the playoffs, which is insane.
Yeah. I could go there, Ace, and I could go there, and then
no, but like you got to be healthy to win. And Philadelphia stayed healthy, and they won.
Folks have gone there on occasion over the course of the season, but I don't typically tend to go there. Like I said, people will go there and talk about, hey, you had 18 guys on injured reserve, and no Hutchinson, and no pass rush, and so on and so forth, and that's why you lost. I don't necessarily go to that, because I say, well, if you won 15 games, you found ways to win every single one of those 15 games that you won over the course of the season. So there was the possibility, the potential for you to win a game was there for you. You just didn't win it, and you didn't win it because you didn't play well. You didn't come out and play well as a team. Now you can chalk it up to any one of those numbers of reasons. But you didn't play well, and you got your ass whooped. That's what happened.
But what Ace introduced, that's a different thing altogether. Yeah, that was injuries and stuff like that. What Levon is talking about is that this is a healthy Kansas City team that they didn't play up to the level of what the record is. They basically was getting by, or they was playing below average of what they were supposed to play. If there was any other team that didn't get bailed out by the refs or any type of situation, they would have lost.
The real thing.
Let's say the refs gave him 4 more wins.
The refs did give
either way. They got out big man.
The thing is that they had plays that it was just called easy BS plays, or the refs will let things go by. Like you will see, like the offensive line literally holding, and everybody can see it. The guy is actually holding like crazy. You see the defensive players trying to get past him, but yet he's getting his jersey getting yanked. And the ref is just standing right next to both of them, just looking at every single exact thing. That's what Levon is talking about.
That's what the players in Houston were complaining about in the playoffs, and people were like, that's ridiculous.
Yes, it does happen in every football game, but it is blatantly conceded with these guys.
No, apparently apparently it doesn't.
Yeah.
Apparently it doesn't happen.
It does.
It's only recognizable when the Chiefs play.
No, I'm saying it does happen in every game, in every single football game. But you can literally see it more when it comes to the Kansas City.
They got a lot of benefit of the doubt.
Kansas City holds more than everybody else, but nobody calls it.
No, that's not what we're saying.
I'm talking about it's crucial situations.
Yes.
This actually happened in crucial situations.
So Kansas City holds in crucial situations. Kansas City holds more than any team in the NFL.
No, I'm talking about the refs would not call it on holds, or they'll call phantom plays in crucial situations. It does happen. It was those favoritisms that does happen.
I think they're the champs, and it's like in most sports, and we've been watching sports a long time. The champs get calls, but it was egregious this year.
Malik, I'll say this, Malik, because I know you have. Malik, I'll say this because I know you have one of those subscriptions to these things. Go back, later on, whenever you have a chance to. It doesn't have to be for next week or whatever, but go back and look at some of these Kansas City games and stuff like that. Just breeze by them.
I don't need to. I don't need to. You know why I don't need to? Because every year there's a champion. So what I'm going to charge myself to do is this year, this coming up NFL season, I'm going to watch every Philadelphia Eagles football game. They are the champions. They are the best team in the NFL, and they are the champions. I'm going to watch every single Philadelphia Eagles football game, and I'm going to pay attention to see if they get calls because they're the champions, and everybody loves them now, and they should be getting all the calls, right? That's what you're saying, right?
No, I did not say that.
Is what you're saying? I
never said that.
They should be getting all the calls.
I never said that.
No, I
said that.
I'm asking.
I never said that though. You putting words in my mouth. I never said that.
What are you saying? So the Chiefs were getting called because they were the champions.
The Chiefs were just getting calls
because they were the champions. So now it's
things going their way.
There's no reason for them to be getting calls.
I don't know the reason. All I know is that we can plainly see those things.
Malik,
you making a joke out of it, but the thing is that
I'm not making a joke out of it. I am not making a joke out of it. I promise you, I am not making a joke.
That's the reason why.
I am trying to rationalize.
I am trying to rationalize. The best way to rationalize it, like I said, is to just go back for yourself.
Okay.
And just look at it. That's what I'm saying. Just go back for yourself and look at it. We all never gonna agree on this.
If I may.
You have your own view on this. We have our own view on this. I said the best thing to do is you go back and review it yourself. If you still don't feel the same, then that's cool.
He's very upset. And is very upset. He's taking this.
No, I'm not.
He's not upset. He's passionately arguing his point.
I'm just arguing my point on this because the thing is that Malik is putting things in my mouth, saying that
I'm still trying to understand. I'm not putting anything in your mouth. I'm trying to understand.
Because you brought up the championship part, and I never said that about the championship. I just said that
you actually said that. You actually said they're the champs. You said
I never said that.
Anything you did.
I never said that.
That was me.
You did say.
I never said that.
That was Levon.
I never said that.
I said.
I did not say that. I brought this up for the last 2 years because I noticed it from back in 2 years ago. That's when I started noticing it when they played against my Jets. One of my Jets should have won that game.
Oh,
I started noticing it after that. I started realizing it after that.
So Ant, you're saying this is what I'm asking you.
And I'm not the only one. There's actually people out there that's actually.
I don't give a flying fuck about anybody else. I'm talking to you. I don't care about anybody else who says it. I could care less because I don't care about their opinions at all. Okay, I don't care about the masses' opinions. I don't care about the media's opinions. I could care less. I talk to you. We talk. The four of us talk every week during the entirety of the football season. Every week we talk about. Every week we talk about. Calls that are made, calls that are missed. I'm asking you the question. You're saying that the Kansas City Chiefs, during the course of this NFL season, I'm not talking about last season or the seasons before. During the course of this NFL season, the Kansas City Chiefs were favored, received favoritism in respect to the calls on the field that won them football games. Is that what you're saying?
In some of those instances, yes.
Okay. What is the reason that you believe that happened? What is the reason that you believe that this happened?
I have no reason because the thing is that I see it happen. Let me finish. I see it usually happen around crucial times, especially around the fourth quarter. All of a sudden, they magically start getting calls going their way, or they start getting calls that don't happen that they should be happening, like those hold calls.
So
Malik.
if there's no reason, hold on, Levon. I just want to clarify this because Anthony said I'm putting words in his mouth. And I don't want to be accused of this because I don't like when this is done to me. So if there's no reason why it is happening, or that it did happen,
I can't say there's any reason because I'm not in the NFL. I'm not in the NFL. I'm not in the NFL to actually say that.
But you're making an observation that you're seeing things happen with no reason.
It's literally called out, and people will usually post this on social media. They literally show it almost after every game.
Can I interject in this passionate back and forth?
Go ahead, Levon. Go ahead.
So there is no conspiracy. There is no group of people behind the scenes saying we're going to give the Chiefs. That's for clicks. That's for fun. That's for jokes. But when you're a champion or when you're just a good team, there's something called the benefit of the doubt when it comes to flags, whistles. And the Chiefs were 2-time defending Super Bowl champs. This is known. Right? Everybody knows and celebrates Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in football. We all knew when Brady had that mantle, you couldn't breathe on him. You could barely touch him. He got all the calls. Patrick Mahomes assumed that mantle. That's all I am saying. I'm not going to say. Let me finish. I'm almost done.
No, I said okay.
I'm not saying Anna's saying the same thing, but I think the refs took it to an extreme this year, and it is documented. You can go back and see it. You can see people illustrating it in replays. There have been analysts talking about a lot of these things.
I've seen it. I've seen what you guys are talking about.
That's all we're saying.
No. I've seen I've seen the YouTube analysts. I've seen the people on ESPN go back and forth about it. I've heard all the national media conversations. I don't disregard it as BS because somebody, I respect the fact that somebody took the time out of their day to go dissect game film and try to speculate the reasons why and try and identify areas where these things have occurred. I wish that they would do that for my Lions games because, there's plenty of times where I sit there as a Lions fan watching the game thinking to myself, we're getting robbed. We're getting hosed. And nobody seems to give two shits about our game when it happens to us. Nobody
does. Just went like 15-2 again. What, didn't you go 15-2?
But yet and still, there's plenty of times we could have went 17-0. I don't give a damn.
Oh my God. Malik, now you're diving in. You agree with us?
My point, I don't. No, like I said, what I want to do is I'm going to test your theory, Levon. Okay. Test your theory. Your theory being that they're the champions.
Yes.
They get the benefit of the call, the benefit of the doubt because they are the champions. So I'm going to test your theory. I'm going to test your theory next season during the regular season. I will watch every Philadelphia Eagles. I will commit myself to watch every Philadelphia Eagle football game from beginning to the end of the season. And I will watch I'll look at the numbers. I'll look at the statistics. But I will watch those games to try to identify that what you are talking about.
What I'm talking about
are the champions getting the benefit of the whistle. The benefit of the whistle more often than their opponents.
They're not correct.
And is it blatantly obvious that they are in the wrong?
Yes.
And they're still getting the whistle?
Yes. And
if that's the case, then I will completely side with you in this discussion.
Yeah, you watch and see how many times Lane Johnson gets called for holding. And he's the only right tackle in football who doesn't do it. You watch and see how many times Jordan Mailata gets called for illegal man downfield on any of those RPOs or anything like that. You watch and you tell me, because I'll be watching too, because they're in my division and I can tell you, I've played them as a Giants fan and my team sucks. And I've watched, I know when a team is bad, they get no calls or no benefit of the doubt. But when a team is good or when you have good players, it's human nature to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I'm just saying that the Chiefs got it a little bit to the extreme, and it contributed to wins. It did.
Man, 2 years ago, I saw Zach Wilson get his behind slammed all over the damn place. The refs would call it.
It contributed to wins. 1st and 20 after a holding call is a drive killer for most teams. And after you are 3rd and 11 and you get flagged for roughing the passer on some BS, that could result in a touchdown, which could be the difference between a win and a loss. That is a fact. And I know Parcells said what he said. It's as sexy as hell, and I love Bill, and it's a one-liner for the ages. But he got that wrong. I mean, let's keep it a B. You are not what your record says you are.
I disagree with that.
Well, we could talk for 10 hours on that one. A lot of teams have bloated records and they get punched. I get 18-0, and they don't have a Super Bowl to show for it. So obviously, you are not what your record says you are.
One doesn't reflect.
You're not a champion.
18-0 does not mean you win the 19th game.
But
this is what I keep telling people. 15-2 doesn't mean you win the 7th. If you go 15-2 does not mean you win the 7th, the 18th game.
Also, but if they lost that game by 3 points to you.
But if you are 15 wins, and if you are what your record says you are, you should be able to beat a 7-win team, a team with less than 15 wins. That's what that statement means. But that's what that statement means.
No, it doesn't. It says that you are what your record says. It means that you are what your record says you are. If you are 15-2, that means you are a 15-win team. That's a pretty good team in the NFL. It does not
lose to a lesser team. That's what you always.
You do realize when he was quoted as saying that it was because the Giants. Everybody said the Giants
were bad,
better than what they are, but they only had 5 wins at the time.
Correct. He said that to justify. Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
Those statements, but what I'm saying is that the two statements that would be diametrically opposed to one another is you are what your record says you are, based off of what you're saying, Levon, is one, you are what your record says you are, and two, on any given Sunday, you can win or lose a game. So the fact of the matter is, yes, you can be a playoff caliber team that can absolutely lose to the worst team in the league. It can happen. And we've seen it happen on a regular basis. So that does not mean that you're a bad team. It means you played a bad game and you got beaten by a team that played a better game than you that week.
Malik,
this is why the NFL is what it is.
But I think
college basketball, same thing. When it's a one and done situation, anything can shake and shift that situation one way or the other. So if you are, it doesn't negate the fact that you won all of those games over the course of the season, unless, to you guys' points, things were unfairly sliding into your direction because of the fact that you are the favored team, you are the favorite team, you are the team that people want to see win. Like all of those narratives and all of those conspiracies that people come up with. I don't personally buy into those, but
to make me and Ant seem like we're freaking.
I'm not putting any spin on it.
Crazy people. No one said they wanted. I went out of my way to say exactly the opposite.
No. Ant has said on numerous occasions and posted memes and pictures on numerous occasions of the referees holding jerseys with Patrick Mahomes and signing jerseys together. That shit doesn't get made because
that is clickable fandom craziness. We're trying to be sensible here. We're talking about there's no phantom group saying we want the teams to win.
I'm asking you a question.
To my thing about the commercials, because I have a rant to go on about that, but I'll save that for the shout out.
For the shout out. Anthony, I'm asking you a question, and then we can move on from this. When you post those pictures in our group chats of all of the referees and how much they get paid off by the Chiefs and all of those things, do you believe any of it? Or are you just posting it just for the simple fact of just like making people laugh? But because you made those posts in our chat for weeks on end. Every week, there's another one that pops up.
And as your lawyer,
are you doing it specifically? I'm just asking a question. Are you doing it specifically to make everybody laugh, or do you believe any of it?
First off, I would just like to say that I feel like I'm at a Senate hearing for getting appointed. My name is Nat Patel or whatever those other guys that's getting nominated.
You gonna be
man. But as far as for the posters are concerned, I'm always joking around with that stuff. But yes, you can literally see it just like Levon's been saying already. You can see those little bit of favoritism because they're the favorites or whatever like that. But as far as everything is concerned, it's mostly just for jokes or whatever.
Point taken. Point taken. I won't come back at you. Come back at this ever again. Let's shift before we get to the shout outs because we're going.
Oh dang! I thought the Republicans was about to start grilling me. Somebody else going to come out of nowhere and start grilling me some stuff.
Bro, I'm legitimately, the season is over, and I can honestly say that I did not speak on this, the whole refs giving. I didn't speak on it all year. Because I was like, as every episode, you guys listen back to the old episodes. I never spoke on it. I never challenged you on it. I really wanted to, now that the season's over and it's all said and done, and they got their asses kicked, and it's all done, and then what the refs could do.
I don't care as long as the Bills didn't win. As long as the Bills didn't make the Super Bowl and they didn't win, I was good.
Speaking of which, let's look at next season's Super Bowl favorites. So in the top 5, we have, and so Levon, I know you said right at the end of right after Super Bowl, the Ravens were the top 2, correct?
Ravens and Chiefs, if I remember what ESPN threw up there. Ravens and Chiefs were the 2 favorites. Just to make it back. Teams to make it back, I think is what they were calling it. Something like that.
Got it. Okay, so right now, looking at
okay.
No, we can. Yeah. Right now, looking at DraftKings, the top 5 teams. Well, I'll give you the top 10 teams listed, and then you tell me if you think this list is accurate in a way too early prediction of next year. Eagles are the favorites at plus 600. Chiefs are second, plus 700. Bills are also plus 700, and the Ravens are plus 700. So that would actually mean that there's a 3-way tie for second best odds between the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens. The Lions are next at plus 900. Then you have the 49ers at plus 1,500. The Commanders at plus 18, Packers at plus 18, and rounding out the Bengals at plus 1,800. Those are your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams in terms of Super Bowl 60 odds. Any one of those teams that stands out to you in terms of being either shouldn't be in the top 10 or should be higher in that list?
I don't think the Bengals should be.
Ace, I'll start. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Ann. Sorry. So Bengals are at 10.
Yeah, I don't believe the Bengals should be in there, in my opinion. And it's going to be kind of hard to see exactly. This is going to be actually a test for your Lions as well as Bully, because you guys lost both your offensive and defensive coordinators. Got to see if Winston Campbell can actually step it up with new coordinators to actually keep the pace up, or will they fall back a little bit on this? Because besides the coaches, there's going to be some players that everybody's going to be going after on that team. Also with the Eagles as well, will they fall back? With KC fall back and stuff like that. But as far as for the overall question, I'm going to go with the Bengals on this one. They didn't prove nothing to me last year. They basically had to beg to try to get in to the playoffs, and they didn't really get there.
So before I jump over you, Amp, so right behind the Bengals would be the Rams, Chargers, Texans, and Buccaneers. Which one of those 4 teams, or are there any one of those 4 teams that you would put ahead of the Bengals?
I'll put the Texans ahead of them.
Okay. Levon?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I was going to ask if you said Texans in that list, and I agree with Ant. Texans should be ahead of the Bengals. Texans have a really good, well-rounded team. I like their team. I think that list is spot on. If you just put the Texans where the Bengals are, I think that list is spot on without any movement so far. Free agency starts March 11th, I think. As everybody's
in the league season, yep.
Yeah, nothing's changed. I mean, if we want to start guessing, but what can we guess? We don't know who's going where, who's not going to be where, who's retiring. But yeah, I mean, as it stands, if they ran it back as is, I don't see anything different, except I think Detroit would probably get out of the divisional round. I don't think I would pick Washington or any team to upset them like they did again in that spot. I mean, Kansas City and the Ravens, any one of those 3 teams would probably make it to face Philly in the Super Bowl. That's how close it is between them. It's not really close. I think it's between the Bills and the Ravens. But, I agree with that list.
Okay.
I think,
Ace?
First off, Baltimore is very near the cap, and they're going to lose a lot of players in that defense, and that is going to affect them. So they shouldn't be that high. They should fall back, in my personal opinion. Their defense is going to be way worse next year. Also, Cincinnati is going to be able to make some moves because they have more cap space, and they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do with their receivers. So they're going to have solutions there, and they're going to have another chance to improve their offensive line. And thirdly, San Francisco is going to have to pay their quarterback who wants too much money. And when they give him all that money, they're going to lose a lot of other players, and that's going to affect them. So San Francisco will again not make the playoffs next year. If they give Purdy $51 million, as is being estimated and reported right now in the league, they're going to lose Debo. Brandon Ayuk is coming off of a torn ACL. Christian McCaffrey has bilateral Achilles tendonitis. So I don't think they have a cure for that yet. So they are still, what you would say, screwed on offense. So yeah, San Francisco's not making the playoffs again next year. And Debo asked for a trade. Just because he asked one doesn't mean he's going to get one, but they're going to need to get cap relief somewhere. So if somebody wants to pay him all that money, I can see Dallas doing it. Maybe Debo Samuel's a Dallas Cowboy next year. I don't know. That's just my prediction. So you got to move them down. You got to move Baltimore down. And you got to move Cincinnati up. And you got to move the Chargers up. Because they're going to get better because they were very young everywhere except quarterback.
The Chargers probably have to figure out what they're going to do with Khalil Mack. Obviously, that's...
he's leaving.
He leaves still.
He's not going to play there.
They'll figure out what their situation is there. I agree with you, Ace. I think the 49ers are probably the most intriguing team on the list, on that top 10 group to me. I expect everybody else to contend. I think the Commanders can take a big leap up because I didn't even know they have a ton of cap space to fix their defense, to address the situation in their defense. And so they can make some moves up that list if they just get another good season, another good season from Jaden Daniels in that offense. They can probably move up as well. Any teams that you think would be? I'm just thinking about the back end teams. Teams at the back, let's say the back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any teams that are you think may make a leap up. So we're talking about the Jets at plus 13,000, the Panthers at plus 13,000, the Saints at plus 15, the Browns at plus 15, the Titans at plus 20, and the Giants at plus 20. So the Giants have the worst odds of Super Bowl 60 predictions. Any of those 6 teams you guys see making a leap up, either because of, injuries, guys coming back from injuries, or guys just getting healthier, or anything along those lines, just big changes that you see could happen from there. Ace, I'll start with you now.
Realistically, I think the Jets have the opportunity to do that. They still have all of the players there on the defense, and they have a defensive-minded head coach who's going to come in with a new attitude and get them going. And I think they can get a quarterback. Tyrod Taylor wasn't bad. And they finally have a real offensive coordinator because they filed the thing with Hackett. So they have a legitimate chance to actually go from being 5-6 win team to being a 10-win team. It's just 4 games. Yeah. They were close this year. So if they can just get a more consistent player at the quarterback, they can get off of those contracts and spread out the cap hit from Aaron Rodgers. They can get somebody. Whether it's Derek Carr, whether they get a rookie, whether they just go with my man Tyrod and have him be a bridge quarterback until they feel like one of the rookies or younger guys is available. I think the Jets legitimately still, I know I'm not trying to give people false hope, but they feel more quarterback away than anybody. The Giants feel it's an offensive line away. And Tennessee's not going to be good.
It's the worst of first.
So if you're in Tennessee, focus on the Volunteers. Focus on college.
Right. It's the worst of first theory, right? And there's always seems to be a team that makes a big push. That's why I'm asking about those 6 teams, because there's always a team. It always seems to be a team that nobody expects that makes a push, that gets into the playoffs or just makes a push to get into the playoffs and play teams that you didn't consider. So
Chicago, for that matter, has an opportunity to do that.
Chicago is in the middle. They're actually right behind the Vikings in terms of odds right now. So, which is 13, 14. Levon, Jets, Panthers, Saints, Browns, Titans, Giants.
Not the Titans.
Bias aside, which team do you think has a legitimate chance?
not the Titans. They're just bad. They're just bad. Not the Browns, because they are going to lose their best player, and they are stuck with Watson, and they don't have a quarterback. The Panthers have probably the best chance to go worst to first, because I can't think of a team in the South that I would say, unlike in the Jets division, you got Buffalo. Unlike in the Giants division, you have the Eagles. Those divisions, even though NFC East hasn't had a repeat champion in years, those divisions seem pretty locked up and hard to say that one of those teams will climb up. But I agree with Ace. I think the Jets have a good defense. If Aaron Rodgers would have performed, if they had, I don't even think it was the players' fault. I think it was more coaching or something else was wrong, because that's a talented team and they just flopped hard. But they've got players and they've got guys at every position where they could win 10 games and be a playoff team. It didn't come together this year for some reason. So I'd say worst to first. I don't think they could beat Buffalo, but I think the Jets could be good. I disagree. I think somebody I had to just from, Washington does have a lot of cap space, but that is because a lot of their team are going to be free agents, heavy contributors like Wagner, Chen, Ertz, guys who made big plays for them this year and were critical in helping that team win games. Ertz was critical in helping Jaden Daniels develop and giving him a quick, easy target early in the year and later. So they got to fill those holes or decide if they want to keep those guys. And the Saints are in cap hell, so they don't have much room to maneuver. So that's really going to handicap those teams. The Cowboys, too. The Cowboys can't really make a whole lot. There's rumors that they might think about moving on from Micah Parsons. I don't believe it, but that's how bad their cap situation is. So it's going to be hard to say who's going to do anything until, free agency.
Mike is welcome at the Chicago Bears facility anytime he wants.
Welcome everywhere. He's staying anywhere he wants to. He gets traded to. That's a guarantee. But yeah, the Browns losing their best player. They don't know who they're picking with that second overall pick, and they still got Watson clogging up the work. So it's definitely not Cleveland. My Giants are a Jaden Daniels type player away from being good. And I wholeheartedly believe that. There's talent on the team. It's just young. But I don't think I know they won't be first. I mean, that kind of leap would be – I'd bet that if I thought it was a possibility, and I'd be rich.
So. Yeah, I love the Micah Parsons offering to take a pay cut in his upcoming contract if the Dallas Cowboys found a way to get Myles Garrett to play on the other side of him, which is probably not going to happen. And so he's probably going to try to, get every dime he can possibly get. And
I can see why quite Ace and Levon was mentioning about Jets or whatever, because they do have a good young core together. All they have to do is just maybe get a good quarterback in there to make everything go. And it definitely was coaching last year, the reason why they fell apart. Because it was not Aaron Rodgers actually was injured quite last year, but he did came together at the end. If you look at his stats and stuff like that, it was actually comparable to Mahomes actually for the whole year. Almost the exact same stats if you actually look at it. But of course, the wins was not there. But the reason why the Jets was losing last year is because of little things like the punter didn't do this, or the kicker didn't do that, or the defense just didn't hold up on certain things. But as far as for the question, yeah, you can put my Jets, but if I want to take my bias out of it, I'll go with Carolina and stuff like that. They're in quite a division that's very light. And quite, you got the Saints, and I believe it's the Saints in that same division, right? The Saints in Atlanta. And quite the Atlanta,
Saints, Atlanta, and Tampa.
If anything,
Tampa's it's been the obviously the cream of the crop on that one.
Right, I can still see Tampa winning it, but I can see quite if the Panthers come through and their quarterback matures a little bit and stuff like that. I can see them actually making one move. They got the 8th pick of the draft. They might get maybe a good wide receiver or a quite good lineman. So whoever they actually need to quite put them over that little hump to get them out of quite fighting for the wild card, or actually maybe losing out on it. Getting the wild card and losing out. So I'll go with the Panthers for me on this one.
Okay.
But you got to see what happens in the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll agree with the Levon and actually all three of you with the thoughts around, what the Jets could potentially be. I mean, there was clearly conversation about them being a playoff team this year. It didn't happen, but the reason why is because of all the talent that you saw on the defensive side, and the thought that a quarterback with the cachet of Aaron Rodgers could bring it all together. Obviously, that didn't happen. But if you feel like you can get a replacement that can do the same with Aaron Glenn and the coaching staff that they have there, there's the speculation or the thought that it can turn around pretty quickly for that team. So we'll see. All right, we're done. No NBA picks this weekend because obviously it's All-Star weekend. So let's go ahead and get into the show before we roll off of here.
Before you go into the show, there was a question that you asked me before in our group chat. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I said I was going to answer it.
Might want to look into the chat and see if you can find it before we roll off. So I'll start with you then. While Anthony's looking it up, I'll start with you on the shout outs then.
Got a lot of shout outs this week. Shout out to Danny Hurley, the UConn head coach, who just keeps bragging to everybody about how many championships he's won. With the 2 rings that he shouted into the crowd because he beat Creighton this week on the road in Omaha. Doesn't look like UConn's going to three-peat, but I bet he wish he had taken that Lakers job, considering that he'd be coaching Luka and not just LeBron and AD. He did not know that, but he was offered the job. But pretty confident he'd rather be in LA right now than in Connecticut. Shout out to Rick Pitino, the vampire, who was taking St. John's to the tournament. Man is, 9,700 years old. Bought the number 1 team in the Big East, and they are playing amazing. I've been paying attention a little bit to college basketball since Black History Month started. And shout out to the Knicks and their 2 All-Stars, Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, who made sure they didn't blow the game yesterday. Put up 36 and 44 points, combined for 80 points between 2 players in the game, in which they had to score 149, including overtime, to get the win, which was pretty amazing. And shout out to the Super Bowl and Kendrick Lamar for just that amazing halftime show that I thoroughly enjoyed, as he just danced on Drake's career and just let everybody know who he was. And also, shout out to Serena Williams' husband, Alexis Ohanian, who dressed down that terrible sports writer, Jason Whitlock, just going in on him, talking about, I get it, you're 57, your career hasn't worked out like you thought it would. So this is how you lash out on people. Because he had a lot of nasty things to say about Serena, which he has had to say throughout his entire career. And this woman has won at least 15 plus Grand Slams in tennis. And I'm not a fan of him. I'm not a fan of him in general. And I just wish he would stop talking.
He actually defended himself on that. He was trying to say that because she did the crip walk a long time ago. That's the whole reason why this whole started.
That is why. That's exactly why. A lot of people were upset with her because she did the crip walk when she won Wimbledon in 2012 or 2011. And she also did it again when she won a gold medal in Paris. And people had comments then. And that's why she did it again. And that's why he asked her, because she's from Compton. Everybody thinks it had to be because they dated.
Another reason why they said that is because they say that I think it was a sister that died by a crip or whatever.
Not a crip. Her sister got shot in a drive-by back when they were
by a crip.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it was a crip. They just said
that's how they was basically reporting it.
Oh, specifically?
Okay. Yeah, that's why I'm just bringing that part up. But I understand what you're saying. Jason Whitlock should shut the fuck up. She's doing the dance.
Yeah, I'm tired of Jason Whitlock. He does not know of what he speaks. And it was a joyous moment, and we enjoyed it. And those commercials some of them were weird.
I know, sure, I did.
And yeah, I was paying attention more to that than the game after a certain point. So it was just to beat them down. And shout out to Philadelphia for destroying their own town and doing a couple $1,000s worth of damage because, that place isn't that nice to begin with. But you're going to tear it up every time y'all win something. So shout out to y'all.
They need renovations.
And I'm going to be enjoying the All-Star weekend. I'm actually going to be watching the games. And they got up on top of the Four Seasons they were drinking beers on top of the Four Seasons awning this year, and nobody died, so that was also a positive. So shout out to Philadelphia and their fans and Gilly for dancing on them. That was pretty funny with the giant Eagles hat.
Yeah, he's been funny most of the season with his dances after every Philly game. I can't say that I was looking for him, but it definitely showed up every time Philly would win a game on my IG feed. It would show up with him dancing in his parking lot.
And shout out to to Montoya. I heard he has recovered since his crash out. After everybody on social media, TikTok or whatever, has been seeing this man just running through the streets, distraught after seeing his girl get piped down on Temptation Island in Spain. If you know, you know Montoya. It's bananas.
Yeah, I don't know.
My wife told me about it on TikTok. It is ridiculous that this reality show exists. But I'm definitely the reality show dude on the show, and it's the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life.
Don't watch reality TV anywhere. Not much anymore.
You're missing out.
Levon, shout outs.
I don't have any. I never prepare anything for these shout outs. Ace obviously came prepared. His shout outs are usually very good, so kudos to him. But I usually save my shout outs for some fandom or some favoritism, some bias, and I won't disappoint with this. I want to shout out Hall of Fame quarterback Eli Manning of the New York Football Giants. They say I crashed out last week, and maybe I did. I didn't know I did, but if I did, it was because my respect and my admiration for this athlete knows no bounds, and I'm on record saying he's my favorite athlete of all time because he is. He truly is. He surpassed Michael Jordan in that respect. I have a great respect for him as a person from what I know, from what I've seen him do, his charity works, how he interacts with fans, media, his team, from afar. Great respect for 10. And I truly do believe that he was unfairly disregarded by not getting into the Hall of Fame when he was up this year. And I think it was because of, we're a microcosm of that as a group, because we're so divisive, we're so divided in how we regard this man's career. And it's just unheard of that how many people would have a different take on an athlete. It is similar to like Terrell Owens in that respect. With T.O. it was an attitude thing. It was like, this guy and what he did off the field and how many teams, his quarterbacks did he destroy and not get along with. With Eli, it's like he couldn't be a nicer dude, but he suffers from a different type of angst or of bias or of whatever you want to call it. It's because his name is Manning. His name is Manning, and his father played and his brother played, and they were good. And I guess everybody saw him and they wanted him to be something that he wasn't, or they wanted to hold it against him. I really don't know. I just know that there are people in the Hall of Fame, quarterbacks, Troy Aikman, who he has better stats than, Joe Namath, who he has way better stats than, who literally is in the Hall of Fame because of one game. One game. And that's a credit to Joe. That one game was very important. And Warren Moon, and I'm sure you guys heard these arguments because they were all everywhere, the same names. Warren Moon, who literally...
Don't talk bad about Warren Moon.
Don't interrupt my shout out. Don't interrupt my shout out, first of all. Second of all, I'm not going to...
It's Black History Month. Don't do it.
I'm not. Warren Moon's stats, the only stat in which he surpasses Eli, if I can recall, is he got one Offensive Player of the Year award. One. He might have more yards. No, he doesn't have more yards. Eli has more yards. I think Eli has more touchdowns. And I know Eli has more Super Bowls and has played in what we're going to digress off of that. And John Elway, who also never made first team All-Pro. Did you know that? They want to hold that against number 10 as well. He was never first.
Did you know he won an
MVP? Never this, never that. My point is, not all quarterbacks are going to have all of those accolades, which means they should be inducted first ballot, second this and that. It goes back to what I said originally. Can you talk NFL football and not mention the name Eli Manning. You can't do that. From 2004 when he came into the league to no, you can't. Y'all interrupting my shot. Such disrespect. Do you see what I mean when I say he inspires such vitriol? It is uncanny. He belongs in the hall. He should have got in first ballot. They purposefully didn't want him to get in just because it was first ballot. And I just want him to know that he is respected, that he is cherished by a large group of the football fandom population, whatever you want to call it. And he shouldn't feel some type of way about the disrespect, because it will come to an end. He will be inducted. And I wish we all could get along at the end of the day. I wish we all could just put our biases aside and be global citizens and just appreciate things for what they are and not, it's time to end that. It's time to end it. It's my shout out, man. That's all I got.
We have a Chiefs bias and a Manning bias on today's show. Look, I don't, nothing to say about the Eli Manning nomination. People feel how they want to feel. I think the very interesting thing is next season. So this season, Eli was the only quarterback that made the finalists list, right? And so he didn't get in. Next season, Drew Brees joins that group as his first time eligible, and Phillip Rivers. And obviously there's a conversation about, that. But just
what
the
about
fact that
Roethlisberger?
I don't think Roethlisberger is eligible yet. I think Roethlisberger may be the following year. So right now, it's Brees. The players that join the list as first time eligible for next year are Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Jason Witten, Frank Gore, and Phillip Rivers. These are all guys, and Bill Belichick would be eligible as well. So I think next year is going to be an even more interesting conversation with respect to the quarterback position, who gets in, and if multiple players are getting in, because this year, only 4 players made it to the Hall of Fame, which was the smallest Hall of Fame inductee class since 2005. So the smallest amount of Hall of Famers that went in the last 20 years. So next year, I hate to say it, I believe, because I do sit on the side that believes that Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, Levon, but I hate to say it, I think that this conversation is going to get worse before it gets better for Eli, especially with the next slew of quarterbacks getting ready to enter eligibility. Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, so on and so forth. Aaron Rodgers, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
All right, Ant, we'll come over to you, your shout out. Or do you remember the question that you were going to answer?
Oh, give me a second. I thought Levon had to say something.
Oh yeah. Real quick, I don't disagree. I'll be interested to see how it goes down next year. I think Breeze has Manning beat, but I mean, I'm interested what you guys think about Frank Gore. I think that's a 2-hour conversation waiting to happen, because he falls into my category as a stat stuffer. For as long as he played, he was
a compiler. You would say.
Frank Gore, former Jet, he should definitely get in.
A compiler, definitely. But would we? I mean, he passed a lot of all-time great running backs on statistical lists, but would we consider him in their category? Is he famous? Do you have to mention his name when you're talking NFL lore?
Yes.
I don't think so. No.
He's a great running back. Is the reason why
me and Ace differ when it comes to this greatly. I can see the chasm. It is no way you would put him with Barry, Emmett, Peyton, Sayers, Tomlinson.
I'd put him ahead of Gale Sayers.
Davis, Gore.
You know, I'd put him ahead of Gale Sayers.
There's a definite.
Gale Sayers never played in the playoffs. Did you know that?
But Gale Sayers is a great. I mean,
he never played in the playoffs.
It has nothing to do with playoffs. It's like I said,
he never got to the playoffs.
It's notoriety of a player and what they.
Frank Gore is notorious.
Frank Gore is a compiler. He played a long.
He's notorious. He was notorious in college with the U. He was notorious in the NFL.
We might as well put Willis Smith. I mean, I don't want DC. You have me disrespecting these players because
You're the one doing that. I'm not telling you to. That's on you.
It's that you would really
And
put
me and the fans are here for it. Eat no popcorn.
Only popcorn. You would put him in the same category as Barry, Emmett, and all those names I just mentioned. You would legitimately do that.
He may not be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. I didn't say he wasn't, but he would. I mean, I would hate to make anybody wait, but if Sterling Sharp had to wait as long as he had to wait, I think Frank Gore's along those lines.
But you know the reason for that, right? Like it's a short career for Sterling.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, okay. Sterling Sharp was an exceptional player, but he was penalized because his career was short. So should we reward Frank Gore just because he played long and just happened to rack up all of these yards with all these different...
If I had a vote, I'd put him in right off top.
Wow.
I would. I'd put him in first ballot, genuinely.
On that list. So you're saying you would put him in ahead of Eli? I'm about to lose my shit.
Not ahead. I put Eli in with him. But I don't think Eli is a first ballot.
But
I don't think Eli is Hall of Famer, really.
You think Frank Gore is a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He was the best running back in the league for 5 years. Yes. He came after Barry. He came after...
Wait.
It was a 5-year stretch where he's one of the best running backs in the league.
No. You said the best. You said the best.
What 5 years was I in space that Frank Gore was the best?
And Ace, that's where I draw the line on first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay. Because to me, it's in order to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, to me, in my opinion, there has to have been a stretch of at least 5 seasons where you were undoubtedly the best player in the entire NFL.
I disagree with that, Malik. I disagree with that.
This is just my criteria. I'm not saying that this is like carte blanche. I'm saying that's my criteria for first ballot. It's not my criteria for Hall of Famer. I think Hall of Fame allows for, so Hall of Fame kind of speaks to your point, Levon, about you can't tell the story of the NFL without these individuals. And so, yes, who makes it into the Hall of Fame? Great. But I do believe that first ballot calls out to the intentionality of this was for whatever stretch of career that they had, is that stretch where they were the number one player in their respective position.
That's flawed.
From 05 to 09, I would say.
Crazy. That's flawed because
it's before Adrian Peterson got in and got going.
Yeah, I have to go back and look at that, but I think that's crazy. Then that means that any quarterback who played in the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady era is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, strictly because they were never during those years the best quarterback in the league. And Tom Brady played for 20 seasons.
That's not true.
Well, Malik said you'd have to be the best player at your position.
He said Drew Brees was better than Rodgers for some of those years.
Aaron Rodgers, when he was playing for Green Bay, there was never a year Drew Brees would be considered better than him. Or even, I mean, we're talking, so you're saying best of your position, obviously that's all pro, correct? So during that age even during the age of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, I mean, that is unfair to all those other quarterbacks who should be considered first ballot Hall of Famers. That just because they played in that era and they would never be considered better than either one of those guys, that they can't get in first ballot because they played in that era, and you would never be considered better than those two all-time greats. That's just wild.
Longest shout out ever.
I mean, that's unfair criteria. I mean, if that's his opinion, then that's cool.
Yeah, I don't have a vote, so yes is my opinion.
Well, if you were using that and you did have a vote, I'm just saying it seems a little flawed because there are other talented players whose accolades should consider them to be first ballot Hall of Famers, but just because they happen to play alongside, that's kind of like saying, okay, if you were never the best two guard in the league during the Jordan era, you don't deserve to be first ballot. That's wild. Clyde Drexler's not a first ballot Hall of Famer because he played during the same time.
I don't know that he went in first ballot. I don't know that he did win in first ballot.
I think he did.
I don't know that he went in first
ballot. The NBA is
different than that. It's obviously also relative to who is on the ballot with you when that time comes up, right? We're not going to just leave a guy off because of that criteria. If Drew Brees comes up and there's nobody left. There's nobody else that's available to be selected before him that's better than him. Then obviously, for the sake of putting somebody in, you'll put Drew Brees in. But my criteria, at least the first level of criteria that I would use as a marker for first ballot Hall of Famer is, were you the best player in your position for a stretch of years during those best years of your career? And I would say that there's at least, I'm just looking at it from the statistical standpoint, there's at least 5 seasons over the course of Drew Brees' career where he was the most prolific passer in the NFL.
He wouldn't have been considered the best at his position. He would not have been.
But that much you could say, where he was all pro, offensive player of the year, all pro, offensive player of the year, MVP, like those things were going on while he was at the top of his game. And I want to get to your shout outs before we go though.
Go.
Before my shout out, the thing was the question was basically, why did Rodgers get the so-called farewell and then Zach Wilson didn't? That's basically what it was.
Yeah,
but anyway, I'm just going to answer it real fast. I think it's mostly because of the players itself. That the players actually didn't really give a crap about Zach Wilson. They wanted him gone by the end of by the time. And players actually was upset that Aaron Rodgers got cut. They was actually showing it on what's the name? On Sunday, there was actually tweets about it. Quentin Williams was upset. There was other players that was upset that he was gone. There's more to save face or whatever, especially since Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. This is the respect they gave to him. That's basically about it.
So the team. So what you're saying is the team showed praise and thank yous to him because of the optics of players, fans. Okay.
I don't think it's definitely bad because of what he done. He really did nothing but, it looked like he was coming back, during a time where most players, if they're injured, they're supposed to be gone, rehabbing somewhere else. He showed up and stuff like that. But, it was just the optics of everything on that at the end. Okay. But anyway, I'm going to make my shout out a little bit short. It's just one shout out. Shout outs to Aaron Rodgers. Whoopie do. You wasted 2 years of the Jets thing. I was really excited about you when he first came. And you're gone, and we have to move on. And basically, we're actually a worse team now than we was when you first came in. I was excited for it, yes. And, I think a couple of y'all one or two of y'all was on this panel was telling me about that it was like a boom and bust type of thing. It could work out, whatever. But anyway, since the last playoff win, besides Aaron Rodgers, we have Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, Mike White, Joe Flacco, Sam Darnold, Luke Falk, Josh McCown, Bryce Petty, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Geno Smith, Michael Vick, Greg McElroy, and then Mark Sanchez, who was the last quarterback to actually win with the Jets. And I feel like get that person with the Tim Couch jersey that is on the Browns that keep switching quarterbacks' names. I feel like doing that right now. That every time a new quarterback, who's going to be next to get us out of this 14-year drought. But anyway, that's my shout out. Since I don't want to stretch this any longer than that.
You gone, little
You said Luke who?
Was it Luke Falk?
I've never heard of that name before.
Yeah, I can send you a picture of this because I'm reading off of this picture I got. That's how this guy was. Yes, he was a starter of the Jets, and he got his behind whooped. I think it was one. I think it was 1 or 2 games that he played. Whatever, he got his behind tore up on Monday night or whatever. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, whatever.
Wow. Luke Falk.
Just legend.
Luke Falk is like the Dan Orlovsky of the Jets. Like unless back then they
wow.
He is. It's like unless nobody unless he shows up on TV one day. But nobody knew I knew who Dan Orlovsky was. But no, most people, 90% of the football watching, because you watch, 90% of the football fans out there in the world had no idea who Dan Orlovsky was before he showed up on ESPN.
You know what's going to happen, Malik? We making fun of him right now, but I bet you in 2 years he's going to be the hot offensive coordinator candidate. It's usually happens something like that.
There's already talk of him. There's already talk of Orlovsky joining Kellen Moore in the Saints organization on their offensive side
coach.
Potentially. So we'll see if that happens.
Go coach.
My one shout out is to NBC. NBC is getting the as part of the new deal, they are getting the NBA games back next season, and they made one of their first hires. Studio analyst Carmelo Anthony will be a studio analyst for NBC in studio games. So they're rounding out their group, and Carmelo Anthony will be one of the first individuals that will be added to that studio team. I also heard Jalen Rose might be there. Like there's a lot of Reggie Miller was hired as a
Jalen Rose did get hired. Yes.
Yeah, so Jalen Rose.
Wait, Reggie Miller's going to be there? Oh, damn.
Reggie Miller's going to be there. So, there's a lot of moving pieces with regards to folks that you've seen on TNT and other networks that are becoming over to NBC. So I'm very excited to see what happens there. Oh, Jamal Crawford as well.
Nice.
Will be there calling games too. So that's another big one too. So there's, I don't know. There's a lot of it's shaping out to be a very, very interesting group of individuals that'll be in studio and also calling games with NBC in 2026.
And they got the theme song back too.
We've gone a ways here, probably over 2 hours, but it was a good show. I think it was a really good show. We got a lot to talk about.
We didn't get to talk about Jalen Hurts.
What about Jalen Hurts?
Maybe we'll talk about him next week. You come up with the idea for it.
Yeah, about his cool picture, that he took.
That was a cool picture. That was a cool picture with him sitting in the the hallway with holding the trophy. I have a whole question about who gets to hold the trophy. Like there's only one, right? It's like who gets to hold the trophy and take these photo ops during the course of the thing? Is just because he's the MVP, he gets to do it. We need to have a conversation.
Everybody who starts on the team gets a picture.
You know what's crazy that we didn't talk? We'll talk about
Saquon. I want that.
We'll talk about that offline.
What's that, Levon?
Right, no, because I'm gonna crash out when I bring this up a little bit. So I don't want to do. I don't like crashing out. Just not
control yourself.
All right, so
Claude, that's what kids say.
We stay for the after party. If you go, stay for the after party. As far as peace out.
Let's close it out.
Enjoy
one of Gil's Arena shows where it's like 3.5 hours of them just talking, and we don't want to go there. But
sign up for the Patreon if you want to hit after party.
Enjoy the NFL offseason. We'll be back next week. Holla at you. Peace out.
Peace.